Hello and welcome to the Right Click Save podcast. I'm, as always, your host, Calcio, and joining me today is Jimmy T. How are you today, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm really good. We just got back from NFT NYC, which was amazing, a really good experience, and I'm keen to get back into another recording.
I'm really excited for today's episode as well because we're joined by serial entrepreneur in the gaming industry, CEO and co-founder of Trailblazer Games. It's Alex. How are you today, Alex?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for inviting me. Really glad to be here.
I think I should point out at this point that the artwork you are appearing as on the episode is something that I put together based on your NFT artwork, but it's not the same as your NFTs, and people viewing the episode, you will see that on the TV screen behind.
I kind of want to jump straight to the Eternal Dragons, which is your latest project's trailer before we kind of go any further. So I'm going to get Jimmy to cue that up on the screen for us now, and then we'll come back and break down where we're going with today's episode.
At the dawn of time, the Eternal Dragons roamed the world. My grandmother told us stories of the days dragons played, flew, protected, and grew. The world was in balance. But the dragons were betrayed. A great ancient darkness banished them from our minds. Most forgot, and the dragons became a legend. But not everyone. My grandmother dedicated herself to fighting the ancient evil, searching the world for clues, turning every mountain, sea, and sky upside down, promising she would not give up until the dragons were saved. She gave her life to find them. I will not let her sacrifice be in vain. This time, the Eternal Dragons are here to stay. This is the time of Genesis, the birth of a new age, a time for light.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear a bit more about this one. I don't think we've seen a major Dragons NFT project yet.
Alex, we've obviously reeled off a little bit of your previous experience, but for our audience who are not familiar with kind of your background and your work, what is it that you've been involved in before Eternal Dragons?
Absolutely. So I've been in the gaming industry for over 15 years and switching between building platforms for growing games and being directly at studios. So I'm from Chile originally. My first company was a platform for distributing games before smartphones, actually, which got acquired by a Finnish company called Digital Chocolate. So I live in Finland and then in Barcelona during the transition of gaming towards from mobile to free-to-play, which was in many ways resemblant of what we're seeing now, the transition to Web3, a big change of paradigm. So I feel very lucky that we've been learning since those years on the importance, how impactful can be a change of paradigm like that. I've been at EA running globally the whole data and analytics platform from a product perspective to have a single view of a player that one can use for personalization. I started a company called Omniata, which was venture capital backed. There was a platform also for analytics that was used by some of the top gaming companies in the world, which got acquired by King. I live in Stockholm, where we were growing again all the teams for all the games of the franchise. I've been at Xbox, where I was running growth for another platform for helping games to grow and to personalize the experience. And then when I saw the opportunity of Web3 gaming, and I realized the impact of the change of paradigm, I decided to bring the best people I could think of. And Andreas Risberg, who is my CPO, he was running product for Candy Crush, and Bertrand was running engineering also for at EA and Playfish for SimCity, which is one of the biggest franchises there as well. And he had a strong background on also blockchain. He has his own startup. So I really thought it was a perfect team to address this opportunity. And we got supported by some of the best backers out there in gaming, including Play Ventures, Makers Fund, and Fabric, and we raised our seed round for 8.2 million, and we're now a team of 14 people, distributed globally, really tackling this challenge and working really hard, and very excited about the future.
It's very cool. How did you find the difference between putting together a team for a Web3 gaming company differed from putting together other teams that you've worked with before in the gaming industry?
That's a great question. I think that when we jumped into the opportunity for Web3, we went, with eyes wide open, that we knew that we didn't have all the answers. There was so much that we did not know coming from Web 2 into the Web 3 world. So we decided we proactively brought people that has been natively working on the Web3 space, growing communities in gaming specifically. And for me and for everyone really in the team, it's been such a massive growth, a professional growth to learn more about what Web3 really means. And I think that the change it's so big that really on Web3, the games are not really at the center, it's rather the community. And when one builds is content and entertainment to help, grow that community and strengthen that sense of identity. And it was fascinating to see our community grow and support our vision and provide feedback and feel really passionate contributing with art, with ideas, and just having fun and just realizing that it became like a big family that we never had, and at the same time feeling them as realizing that they were partners in this journey from day one. That's the biggest change from Web 2 to Web 3. On Web 2, one really think of, we're going to build a product and we have a target customer and here are the features of the product that we hope they're going to like, to we are in this together and let's learn from what are the needs from the community and really the journey starts much early in terms of engagement with this broader definition of community, which goes way beyond the classic customer definition, if you will.
I think it's really nice that you've got such a lucrative background, because it does give, I think, as just super simply as a customer or someone who wants to invest in Eternal Dragons, give you a lot of confidence to know that you've been through the experiences of products that have struggled, and you've also, equally more importantly, built products that have succeeded. If we roll it back a little bit though, and we just focus on the very core of Eternal Dragons and what it is that as a buyer I'm going to get, what is Eternal Dragons? What is the base idea around it, and how can I actually engage and actually buy the product?
Great question. So Eternal Dragons is a franchise. So it's multiple games. So we are building sequentially, initially 3 main games: an auto chess battler, a city building game, and a 4X game that increasingly bring in some of the core value propositions of Web3 into a very well-polished game where the focus is on the entertainment value. So it's a game that you want to play because it's fun first, and then it's taken to the next level thanks to all the blockchain aspect of it and the community that helps develop that. So we have some characters, which is the Eternal Dragons NFT collection, which will be used across all of our games. So the same dragons that you use on the auto chess battler, which will be units that you will deploy there, will be the same dragons that you will use in battles for the 4X game. So it has an increased utility over time, and we expect in the future, as we develop more games, it's going to be used across all of them, and perhaps even through third-party game development and partnerships. So we have a really big vision for these characters as they are part of this universe that we have created.
I guess for me as well, one of the big focuses is that your lore building is really important to the game. How have you found that process and actually starting to put together the pieces of the story to give us a product that ultimately you guys are happy with?
So Andreas is a huge fan of fantasy, and this is really his dream, something that he's been in his mind for many years, in terms of creating this universe. And we have defined kind of what that end state would look like, but we decided to break it up into incremental steps to get there, because we didn't want to have this massive project that who knows, maybe one day it's gonna see the light, and we're gonna hope that everybody likes it at that point. Instead, we decided to have these initial projects, initial products that that we can have out, that we can get feedback, that we can learn how to create these smooth experiences that connect, a fun game with all the power of blockchain, but without all the complexity, without all the friction. So we have that bigger vision towards which we are working. But we again have decided to create this roadmap of products that help us get there.
How has that been different to developing in the sort of traditional gaming market? That you have that focus on the staged release of a Web3 sort of gaming project?
On a regular game, one will really focus on the game, and then one has certain a version that will be tested on certain markets to get some feedback and then iterate on that. In this case, we started with the community. We started presenting the vision and getting feedback of whether that's something that resonates. And we use that feedback to improve already the design and the focus of the game. And then the first products actually are not the game themselves. It's the NFT collection, is the breathing game, and then it's going to be the game itself. In the future, it's going to be more products even outside of the game themselves. So the product is really defined as something that includes the games, but it's not only the games. And I think this process of getting the feedback from the community has been so important, because especially helped us identify that in the end, Web3 gaming can be conceived as an expansion of free-to-play, where we are bringing in more segments, more new kinds of people to play, and in many cases to be part of a community without even playing the game. So for example, NFT investors could hold the NFT. We had certain right, they could trade and really treat it as an investment and get all the value of it. Like, for example, allowing others to breed with your dragon and getting all the fees associated with that. And but it doesn't necessarily require an investor to play the game to get the value of it. So that's what we call the investor game. So we have the influencer game, we have the play to earn game, we have the free to play game, we have the pay for fun game. So it's all the segments. They want something different out of the game, and what this process helped us to define the experiences for these different segments, because we want the free to play player to go straight to play the game, not having to pay anything, not set up anything, just have fun, and increasingly start discovering the value of using NFTs as part of the game, but not as the main driver for playing the game. They just want to be there as fast as possible and enjoy the game. Just like the pay for fun players that are more traditional in the free to play space, that they want that depth, that ability to progress, to get items, to be competitive, and that's absolutely at the core of the game design, to have a game that really drives people to engage, to spend, in this case, just for the pure fun factor. But then we have to give this additional experience to this new segment that we're bringing into the game. And to your question, the process of designing a product like that, I think that the ability of counting with a community with whom we can bounce these ideas, we can show early concepts, and that really is what we believe is going to make the product much stronger, because we feel that we're developing this together with the same people that will be enjoying the product.
No, I love that. It's kind of like part of this kind of open source revolution. I know it's not open source, but the way that the community gets to fully contribute and help build the game that they want to play. And also you've got these different kind of areas where different people can engage with it in different ways as well. Saying that though, have you had any point where you've thought the community has made a decision on something that you thought, oh my God, that is definitely not the way that we would have gone with it? And also, in a sort of similar question, have you found that it's kind of released some of the pressure in some of the decision making?
Right. So, for example, we have shared some early thoughts on PFP style design. Like, hey, we thought we could do something around these lines. And then the feedback was like, you know what, that sounds a little bit too much X or too much Y, not really what I would have been expecting, given, the quality that you have shown on this side. So, and then we took that input. It was like, wow, that actually make a lot of sense. If you're expecting, Disney quality, Pixar level, art, well, that should be aligned across all the products and not having a different type of style that might not be what was expected. So that was a case where it was so fantastic to come with that feedback early on, and that is in big part the result of these gorgeous NFTs that you see today have been made thanks to the feedback that we gathered early when we were exploring different styles. So it's really thanks to that engagement that we have what we have today.
I think one of the other things for me that's really important is how detailed your white paper is and how much information you've been really freely sharing with what you guys are building. And as an investor or potential investor, it's nice and refreshing to see, first and foremost, the experience is there. You guys have got a track record between you of building fantastic products. Second of all, super transparent in what you're doing, and having that community impression is so important because, as you said, Web3, a lot of the space is community first, product second, and that you build the product to cater to the community. But one of the big things, I guess, that's also highlighted for me is just how important it is that you guys avoid a lot of the pitfalls that other Web3 brands and gaming specific Web3 companies have fallen into. What have you done to avoid those pitfalls, and how have you safeguarded Eternal Dragons from becoming potentially another bullet that people wish they'd dodged?
No, absolutely. Look, I have Axie in very high regards, as they have been really, innovating in a space that, pretty much didn't exist before at that scale. But at the same time, we have analyzed, that example and others, and what were some of the reasons that, created this curve of growth and then a bear market right after. And coming from the free-to-play world, I think that the economy design is really at the center. A sustainable economy is the most important aspect of a game. And in fact, is what it makes the game fun. It sounds a little bit boring, but it's all the spreadsheet work and machine learning work that is behind, really fun titles that actually makes them fun without you even noticing. So there's a lot of science associated to creating this fun, this engagement, but also this balance. So one of the things that the way we're approaching this is in two ways. One is about sustainable economy design and smart levers, and the other one is about the scope that will continue to expand. So, mentioning about the scope, we start with a small product with only a few concepts associated to blockchain that we know that we can control and that we can. There's only so many variables, so we have this small version of the universe of the vision we want to create, but then that we will continue to expand it with the second game, with the third game, and which will include guilds, and which include other classes of NFTs and land and multi-game economy and so on. But we start with something relatively small that we know that we can iterate upon. So the MVP approach of iterating, learning, measuring, that is really at the core of the product and the development team. And when it comes to the design, the sustainable design, there are two aspects, both related to token. One is the fungible token, which is when it comes to reward, people has an association to play to earn as being essentially a game that you spend certain hours and expect certain rewards, right? So we see that as a segment within the full ecosystem where, sure, there will be players that will want a reward based on what they played. For us, really, it's not sustainable to just give a fixed reward to anyone that plays the game. It's just not sustainable, period. Because if you have many more users and you're giving that reward, well, where is that whole value coming from? So the answer to that is that the game has to have at the core, the value is created by the entertainment value because it allows, again, the pay for fun players to spend their money, sink it into the economy, and only then a percentage of that could be redistributed across the different free players as they progress with different probabilities and with different chances. But essentially, it's sustainable from day one because we can only distribute what we can afford, right? And what the game can afford. So whatever goes into the game, a percentage of that actually, one percentage stays in the treasury. The rest could be used as rewards. But it has this circle of we're only distributing the value created, which that in combination with other levers like ensuring that the right flow of new users of the right profile is making its way into the game, that allow us to slowly open the gates of into this economy so that these cohorts can mature, and then the players can actually get to the point where there's enough spending happening in the game that can actually afford to bring more free players in a way that we can distribute rewards in a way that is sustainable. So that's a big part of it when it comes to the token design, to the utility token. So we distribute what the game can afford, and the cool part with that is that it still is rewarding. The game can grow, the treasury grows, but in a sustainable way. Now, when it comes to the NFTs, we do something relatively similar, where, for example, we change the breeding mechanism. So instead of you being required of having to own, in this case, 2 creatures, in our case, 2 dragons, to have descendants and have as many as you want, the game is going to place a certain number of eggs in the economy that the economy can support. And only those eggs is the amount of new dragons that could make its way into this universe. So what you do is that once you find an egg, you can identify who you want the parents to be. So that's the part that having a really awesome dragon basically means, well, I have this really rare, really powerful dragon. You should take that egg and breed with my dragon because you have a higher chance of getting these really powerful genes into this descendant. So with that, we enable 2 things. One is we can grow the number of dragons in the universe according to the user growth and to what the economy can really absorb. 2, the owners of a dragon, they don't need to necessarily play the game, but still they can get the value of owning one of these dragons. So that's the investment aspect. And we also have merging mechanics on the dragons that allows to, in case of a bear market, to actually consolidate the dragons, and you still get more value out of those consolidated dragons. So then we have essentially the tools for dealing with different cycles of the economy that we should expect will happen because as much as we can control the growth, essentially the games go through different cycles. But the whole idea is to be able to match demand and supply in a way that we have the right tools. And given our background on building systems, especially data-driven, automated systems, we are going to change many of these levers in a dynamic way, in many cases even real time, so that it can adapt to the actual market conditions in order to make sure that at every point we only have the supply that is really needed by the market, and we have the tools for dealing with any excess that could happen in that regard. So we feel really happy about, we run tons of simulations of this system, and it's all really pointing that we have the right tools for dealing with the economy. We see exactly when this goes out, but we come from a school of having it out and iterate and learn. So what you're going to see is that we're going to have a very first version of the product with everything that I described to you. And we're going to use all the data that we captured to continue to iterate on that system until we nail it and we really come up with something that I think is going to be very innovative and hopefully an inspiration for others. But we put tons of focus, all the focus really, on making our games sustainable for the long term, because I think that's been one of the biggest flaws that we have seen on some of the early Web3 games out there, where which is not sustainable by definition. It sounds too good to be true, and they were, So, and we're here for the long term. And when you look at the top charts of free to play, and they look relatively similar after 10 years, is because those games have built a really long term way of dealing with economy and with engagement, and we're bringing that. But into Web3, we're bringing that long-term thinking and stability in the design of the economy.
It's very cool. Super interesting. I mean, I was going to ask you about, because of all the aspects you've got in the game, about the balancing side of things and how much focus you had put on it. But from what you said, a huge amount of focus has gone into looking at the data, building simulations, a lot of modeling around that. And you're totally right. It is one of the most important things for a Web3 game to get right, especially one with quite a complex economy and user interaction. Did you do a lot of consulting on that, or did you have the experience in your own team to be able to balance that out as well as you can for your alpha launch?
Right. No, luckily both the core team, but also as we have grown, we have hired specifically for certain positions with certain skill set that we can leverage for coming up with these answers. There's no much experience necessarily out there specifically on this that one can just say, hey, let's bring the best token economy designer for Web3 games that are sustainable and work with us. There's a lot of figuring it out oneself, but what I think has been really important is to leverage the experience both on analytics and economy game design to essentially apply it to this next level challenge, which is it's not just a game. It's a whole economy. It's a country where you have a secondary market and you're not in control of that. So what are the levers that you have to manage that? And I think that, of course, we're getting smarter by the day, and we keep researching and talking to smart people that can give us, really great advice. So we've been lucky, especially through our investors, to meet a lot of people that has been really, really in depth into this space, and we have taken much of that great input into account when we are designing our products.
Talking of input, I'd love to know a little bit more about why you chose to actually have the product based on Sol as opposed to ETH.
Right. So when we looked at the different options some months back, late last year, and we look at all the different networks, we research and analyze a number of dimensions, including speed, including cost of fees, including the community of developers, including roadmap. And we were really impressed by what Solana has been doing, because I think the number one factor is the speed. And the speed, not just on the transaction. I mean, their volume is 50,000 requests per second, and which is many times more than anything that you see on the other networks. It's the speed of development. And that, for me, is the actual crucial aspect of innovation, is the willingness and the culture of moving fast, because this is space and you can only solve these really hard problems with by iterating. And we know that because we've been building ourselves platforms, at internet scale with, thousands and hundreds of thousands of requests per second, which comes with their own challenges from a technology perspective. So we appreciate when someone sees that challenge and are able to iterate very quick. But for us, the key factors were, one, the security of working with an L1 as opposed to having these breaches between chains and L2s. The cost of the fees, the speed of the transactions, the frequency of the transactions per second. And in particular, I would say the speed of development. So when we take all of that into account, plus the carbon neutral aspect of Solana, which is also is an important part, I think we come to to a position where we feel really comfortable with them. And that's only on the technical side. When you look today, and I know that we're in the downturn of the whole NFT economy, but Solana has been growing to the point that is now a bigger market than Ethereum on NFTs. We just looked at the numbers, and they were just 12% higher volume traded in the last 30 days than the marketplace at Ethereum. So we see a number of people that have been traditionally been on the Ethereum side that are moving and trying, exploring Solana. And I think that our visions are much more aligned when it comes to what Web3 can do in a world where the transactions are really fast and really cheap. And when you have the number of libraries that allow us to create these experiences in a very easy way. For example, anything related to NFT marketplaces, to DeFi, it's all available as libraries that one can start building right away. So those are, I would say, the main factors: the development side, all the libraries, the speed, and how fast they have tackled the challenges that they have experienced.
Yeah, no, I completely understand what you're saying. I mean, any game that has any on-chain elements on Ethereum is also incredibly expensive to play. And I think it's been the downfall of the in-game economies of a lot of these on-chain games is that the amount of transactions they're expecting people to do and pay the kind of $250 in gas prices just to do a small move really just negates any of the kind of play to earn mechanisms that they built into them as well. So I definitely understand what you're saying there. In terms of one of the, especially about game NFTs for me, one of the sort of dirty words that was sort of more at the beginning of this year, at the end of next, was having these really lengthy kind of roadmaps that you start off with a small thing and it's going to grow, and in a lot of cases you normally have to trust that this project or company is actually going to follow through. And what I really like about yours is that obviously you've gone out there and got this huge seed investment early on, so that your investors have actually got confidence that this roadmap is actually going to be seen through. How easy was it for you guys finding that seed investment? Was that key for you early on to do that, or had you initially just thought about going the kind of fundraiser NFT route that a lot of the projects develop through?
Yeah, honestly, it was really straightforward, given the team and the history of having already built venture-backed companies in gaming, and the seniority of the founding team was, we were lucky to experience a bit of the opposite. We had a number of investors, willing to be part of our journey, and we were in a lucky position of picking, the best partners for our journey. So in that sense, that was not a challenge, but at the same time, I personally see it as a great opportunity of building driven by a long-term vision and not having to optimize, for example, for a specific NFT sale or milestone that will provide the funding to then try to accomplish that vision. Here we see the NFT release as more of the product milestones and a validation that there's value in what we're creating, but if we don't depend on it from a funding and roadmap perspective, which given the market today, I think we feel even more validated that approach of going for equity first and creating, a startup, traditional Web2 startup, if you will, when it comes to funding, but with a vision of enabling Web3 in gaming at the next level. I think that it's working really well for us, and we're focused on building, on creating, a great product, great experiences for our community, and that's what we do all day, and that gives us flexibility and freedom when designing, again, Web3 milestones like NFT sales.
Yeah, no, I love it. And just out of interest, how long has the project been in kind of production for? How long have you guys been working on it?
So we started developing the game back in November, and since then we have continued to iterate and prioritize different aspects of the pipeline. But I would say that October, November last year is when we made the very first version of the game that we're playing, within us. So there's definitely work put onto that, and we're keen to show the results, during the next few months. But we've been working on that since then.
It's such a special project, I think, because one of the biggest things you guys have done as well is break the mold of having a massive mint available straight away. And you guys, from what I understand, have chosen to have mints done in batches. Why was it that you went with that approach?
It's because we believe in this sustainable, continuous process of building a game. So one thing that is really important on live games is live ops, right? You have new content, new events coming every week. So when you're operating a game, it's not that you build a game and then you just hope for the best and then people have a game and then just spend. It's actually you release the very first version and then there's upgrades, then there's new quests and there's new content, and that continuous optimization and growth of the game is something that we really believe on, and especially because it allows us to learn at every stage and apply those learnings on that next iteration. In this case, when it comes to the NFT sale, we see it as an opportunity for getting people more familiar with the content as we are making it available. So for example, we will be breaking it up into the different classes of the different dragons. So first you're gonna see, for example, a fighter dragon, and then you're gonna have a mage, and then you have all different kinds of dragons, and we're gonna share more about what are the unique qualities of these dragons? Why are they important? How can you think of them when playing in the game? How that does fit in the overall universe? So we give ourselves also a chance of creating that content, of getting questions from our community, of make them understand more what the value is of these different classes of dragons, and then we take that input and we apply it on those next iterations. So it's not that we're trying to build a hype for one sale and just hope for the highest possible value in order to just raise that money and potentially make a game later. For us, it's already the beginning of the journey, the beginning of the game. In this case, the investor game, because we want them to discover the value of the NFT that they got. What kind of rarity do they have? How powerful it is? What does it mean that they have those special parts, and how those parts will be relevant for breeding, will be relevant for the game? And if you have two fighters of different affinities, would you want to trade those for something else? What does a dream team looks like? So we can already start, essentially, we're having a game live already just based on the content, and all that input is really, really important for as we develop the game itself and the next releases of NFTs. So we see it as a continuous process, not as a one-off milestone. I would say that's the very short answer.
I like this. I like it a lot. I think there's it must be really exciting getting to this stage of releasing a game, about almost getting it out there and just seeing how the community is going to start coming up with their own tactics for mixing a lot of the things that you said there, how they're going to build their teams, what people are going to consider like the kind of current meta, and the best way of setting stuff up. That must be such an exciting process for you guys to see how the reactions come through.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. When we first started this game, we said, okay, we're going to build a game. It's going to have these blockchain features, and we should also have a community that hopefully likes what we're doing. What it ended up being is that the community became the main already, if you will, live product. And we've been live for months now, just by engaging, by learning, by generating content and operating this really engaged community that is giving us so much. And now we're moving to that next stage where we are providing that first product, which is the NFTs, and we will continue to operate that as a meta game, just like you mentioned. And then there will come the actual first game, or actually the breeding game first and then the actual first game. So it's been fascinating to be live before a game actually goes live, because that's something really unique of Web3 gaming. And that's something one of the first things that I mentioned to all my friends that have been building traditional free-to-play games on. The experience, the journey of building a game together with the community and all this metagame before the game is even live is something fascinating in Web3, and one of the biggest learnings that we have got during these months.
I feel super confident about your mint, but for anyone listening, in a minute or less, why should they click the mint button for Eternal Dragons?
It really is it's a ticket to be part of this vision that we're working toward together. It's a ticket to join the team and to enjoy the benefits of the team, because what you're getting is this unique character that is going to be a crucial part of the value creation, not just for the first game, but for all the games that we're going to build under the franchise. And essentially, everything we do from a team perspective, all the games that we make, all the people we hire, a roadmap, is all for providing more value to whoever holds that token. So because that's essentially it, we will give more utility to the token holders, because you can use that character in more games and it's going to be more powerful and it's going to give you those type of rewards. So it's the most essential value creation tool. So we have architected everything so that if you hold those tokens, you sit at the very center, at the very core of receiving the value that we will be creating over this year with the franchise.
Nice. It's a very cool project. I historically haven't minted anything on Sol, and I have been flirting with it recently in terms of looking at a few projects. And I think this might be the first project that I'm gonna commit to my Sol wallet. Just because it's that exciting. I like what you guys are doing. I think your team is really strong. I think that is so important in our current market that we're in at the moment, that you can have some kind of belief and confidence in a team putting a project together, because it's so difficult to find the right projects at the moment. There's a lot of projects, and it's something we refer to. You just got to make sure a project isn't just two guys in a garage. And so it's good to see. It's good to see that this kind of product's been made now. And this is what we talked about, I think, actually on a podcast back in about October, November. We were talking about how the big players will be starting to move into the space with a lot more maturity and developing like the real game studios have in the past. And it's great to see you guys coming through and to have you on to explain a lot more about it.
Well, thank you so much. And I agree with you. There's one last thought that I would love to share. And I think that one of the reasons also we built this in Solana, but our whole project is really meant to be more inclusive, to bring players of all different kinds to be connected through this project. So it doesn't have to rely only on whoever holds more ETH or not. So it's not an elite game from a wallet perspective. Only if you have this amount of ETH, then it makes sense to play this game or to own this NFT. That's really not the case. We want the full range. If you want to own some of the most valuable items, please, it's going to be a super important part of the whole architecture. But we want to bring regular or true people that wants to play the game and that loves games, and perhaps they don't know anything about NFTs, and they get to discover the value of blockchain within the games. And I think that when you have the speed of transaction, we have low fees, it's an important step towards enabling that inclusivity. So we want to have players of all different tiers combined together in this economy, because they all contribute value in their own way, from the free players to the spenders to the earners to the guild managers, NFT investors, influencers, and just people having fun at on Discord without even playing the game. Everyone plays a role on making the franchise more successful. But more importantly, I see it as a really inspiring opportunity of creating a community with a sense of belonging, we see people coming together and feel like they're part of a big family, and we want to put all of our effort on consolidating that and making a space that is really fun, that is really inclusive, where everyone is welcome and everybody can have fun around dragons, which fantasy games and dragons are some of the most fun things that are out there. So in that sense, we can all enjoy them, in different ways, and that's our goal.
Yeah, I think I prefer dragons to like a little Pokemon-esque type thing. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there, but maybe I'm a bit of a nerd. I love my dragons for like Game of Thrones and the original Lord of the Rings and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So, it's very cool. So I want to mint this project. Tell me how am I going to do it? So first of all, when are we minting?
Right. So we're minting the initial collection called Eternal Dragons Genesis. So Genesis is 10,000 dragons that are equivalent to, think of this like god dragons, like this is the pantheon, the Olympus of the dragons, and it's fixed. And actually, if you look at them, they look like gods. They have these really cool decorations, and those dragons, since they're gods, they never die, and they can have as many descendants as they can, versus the descendants, which are limited in how many dragons they can breed, and are less powerful. So this pantheon of 10,000 dragons are the most powerful, has more rare parts, and essentially are really crucial part of the whole franchise, because it holds the key again for playing all those games and for breeding the rest of the descendants. So this 10,000 dragons is what we're minting, and since we broke it up into 10 drops of 1,000 dragons each, so what you're gonna see first is the very first class that we will be publishing soon and communicating. And you will get to learn everything about that class, but there will be, the next batch of 1,000 and the next batch of 1,000. So that's what we are minting.
Nice. And so that's on the first batch of 1,000 on the 12th of July, yeah?
Yes, on the 12th of July on eternaldragons.com. So go there. We created a really special minting experience with some cool animations, and hopefully everybody gets as excited as we do when we go through the minting process, which we have been testing, and it's wonderful.
Awesome, amazing. And what's the mint price?
It's 2 Sol. So we decided to make it very accessible.
Yeah, that's good.
Because it's our belief that, again, this is not a fundraising tool to us.
Yeah.
It really is about putting the dragons in the right hands of who can get most value out of the dragons, and vice versa. We want those dragons to be in the hands of people that really love the franchise and the vision and want to hold them. So we work throughout this month on a really robust process for whitelisting, and we're looking forward to that, to have the community holding those dragons. But that's the price, 2 Sol.
And is there a public available on 12th, or do you have to be whitelisted for that one?
No, we have reserved, of course, a public sale as well. So there's going to be a stage for whitelisted first, and then it's going to open up for a public sale as well.
Nice.
So everyone will have the opportunity to access this. Yes.
Cool. That's awesome. No, I look forward to it. And I'm hoping the project goes well. I'm excited to see what you guys do with it.
Yeah, and we are excited to announce soon also the first class and more details about what is it that you get out of these NFTs and how their role in the game. So those details are just being fleshed out, finalized right now. So probably tomorrow or so we're gonna have a post describing all of that. So there's a lot more for our community to learn about what this NFT sale is about, but it's a really special NFT, something we have worked so hard for months to make them not just look great, but also have a really unique value across our franchise.
Amazing. Cool. Well, we'll put all your links in the description below. So links to your Twitter, your Discord, the minting site as well, just so anyone who wants to find out any additional information, they know where to go. And we'll also link up that YouTube video down there too.
Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been your host, Calcio of the Reckless Safe podcast, joined by Jimmy T as always. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me.